Hey bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my December wrap-up. I know this is a really late wrap-up. It's January 17th when I'm filming this right now, but my end of December, beginning of January was really crazy. I went back to Texas to visit my family for the holidays. As soon as I got back, I caught a really nasty cold that I'm actually still recovering from, which is why I sound a little manly. This is actually the first weekend I've had time and felt well enough to do any booktube or blog related stuff, so I'm really behind on everything. So in the month of December, I read 6 different things, including 3 full-length books, 1 audiobook, 1 short story, and 1 manga, which was actually my very first manga to read ever, so that was kind of exciting. Overall, my ratings were 1 5-star book, 1 4.5-star book, 2 4-star books, and 2 2.5-star books. So the very first thing that I read in the month of December was Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. If you happen to see my November wrap-up, you'll know that I ended the month of November by doing a buddy read of Shadow and Bone with my friend Emily from Emily Reads Everything. Her blog will be linked down below. We loved Shadow and Bone and we picked up Siege and Storm right away. I'm not going to give a whole synopsis of this book or series because I've already said it a couple times recently. This is the second book in the Grisha series, which is set in the Grisha world. It's a young adult high fantasy series which follows a main character named Alina. Despite the slower pace, I really enjoyed getting to know the characters in this book, and I still found it really engaging, especially at the end. I loved the ending. I thought it was exciting and it surprised me and got me amped up and ready to read the third book in the series. I gave Siege and Storm 4.5 stars. So as soon as we finished Siege and Storm, Emily and I picked up Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which is the last book in the Grisha series. This last book in the series was definitely more fast-paced and exciting than the second book in the series, and this book, more than the other 2 in the series, really got me in the feels. I probably cried through like the second half of this book. I will say I cry easily in books. It happens all the time, but I was literally a mess through the second half of this book. I love the ending. I love the romance in this series. I definitely recommend this series to people who enjoy fantasy and magic. I really enjoyed this world, and I'm really looking forward to reading more Leigh Bardugo when Emily and I pick up 6 of Crows in the not too distant future. I gave Ruin and Rising 5 out of 5 stars. After finishing Ruin and Rising, Emily and I decided to read Folktales of Ravka, which is a bind-up of 3 short stories that are retellings of Russian folktales but set in the Grisha universe. I actually only read 1 of these in December, and that was The Witch of Duva. The Witch of Duva is listed as being 0.5 in the Grisha series on Goodreads, but really all 3 of these folktales have nothing to do with the plot of the Grisha series, so you can kind of read them at any point. I really enjoyed this short story, and it actually reminded me a lot of another retelling of a Russian folktale that I read about a year ago, which is Chasing Ravens by Jessica E. Page. I'll link my review to that book down below, because if you enjoyed The Witch of Duva and you kind of want to see that story or a similar story in a full-length book, then you should definitely check out Chasing Ravens. I gave The Witch of Duva 4 out of 5 stars. And then the next thing that I read in the month of December was Carry On by Rowell. I had some high hopes for this book. It's been getting a lot of buzz online, and this was definitely my most disappointing read of December. I know a lot of people really love this book, but it didn't work for me. I have a lot to say about it, but I'm going to try and keep it short because wrap-ups can be really long videos. This is actually my very first Rowell book, and so it makes me sad that I didn't enjoy it. For those of you who haven't heard of Carry On, I don't know where you've been. If you're familiar with Rowell's book Fangirl, in Fangirl, the main character, Kath, writes fan fiction for a series that's really similar to Harry Potter about 2 characters named Simon Snow and Baz. And Carry On, it's not the original Simon Snow story that's in the Fangirl world, and it's also not the fan fiction that Kath was writing. It's a whole new take on this Simon and Snow story. This is a Harry Potter-esque world, and it's set in Simon Snow's very last year of school. First of all, Carry On is quite a long book. It's a little over 500 pages, and one of my biggest problems with the book is just the first half of it. The first half of it is pretty slow. There's a lot of setup for the rest of the story, because if you think about it, we're supposed to have kind of known Simon for many years before we get to this point. And so there's a lot of backstory that has to be set up. First half of the book, there's a lot of, remember when this happened in year 1 or this happened in year 5, and it does a lot of like recapping of things that theoretically would have already known if they were, 7 or 8 books in the series. The first half of the book also has a lot of similarities to Harry Potter, which I was kind of expecting, but just it didn't quite work for me as well as I had hoped. So needless to say, I was really bored during the first half of the book. The second half of the book, things do pick up and get more interesting, but by that point, it was a little too late for me. I'd already kind of started forming opinions about the book. I also saw the ending coming, so the ending just really fell flat for me because it was what I was expecting to happen for the most part, so that was disappointing. And on top of all of that, I know there are a lot of Simon and Baz shippers out there, but I am not one of them. I did not find that relationship believable. I was not invested in it. I didn't connect with either of those characters. Honestly, I didn't connect with any of the characters in this story, and it just didn't work for me. I very sadly give Carry On 2.5 stars. After reading Carry On, I needed a bit of a pick-me-up or a quick read, and that's when I decided to try my very first manga ever, and that was Attack on Titan Volume 1 by Hajime Isayama. In the month of December, my husband and I tried our very first anime ever, which of course was Attack on Titan. We really enjoyed it, and so when I saw that my library had quite a lot of the volumes of Attack on Titan, I decided I wanted to give it a try. Attack on Titan is a futuristic fantasy story where the world has been overrun by these giants, which are called Titans, whose only purpose is to eat humans. And humans have survived by building cities within multiple sets of walls that the Titans can't get through. But the story of Attack on Titan starts when a new Titan that's never been seen before smashes through the outermost wall, lets in a bunch of Titans, and the story goes from there. Even though I already knew everything that was going to happen plot-wise in this first volume, I still really enjoyed seeing the story in a different medium, and I gave Attack on Titan Volume 1 4 out of 5 stars. The last thing that I finished in the month of December was an audiobook, and that is Sinner by Maggie Stiefvater. Sinner is the 4th book / companion novel to her Wolves of Mercy Fall series, which is a series about werewolves who shift into werewolves whenever it gets cold outside. This 4th book is definitely a companion book. It doesn't need to be read to finish out the series. The first 3 books definitely stand on their own, but I wanted to read this 4th book because it centers around my favorite couple of the series, Isabel and Cole. Unfortunately, this book did not work for me. I actually started listening to it months ago, but I was really struggling with it, and when it went back to the library, I didn't recheck it out for quite a long time. But eventually I decided I really needed to finish it. I had been about 75% through it, and now that I finished it, I'm glad that I can check it off my list, but I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped I would. Compared to the other 3 books in the series, this one is definitely a little more on the contemporary side with a paranormal twist. It's pretty angsty and about the relationship between these 2 characters, and I just found myself really bored through the whole thing. Nothing really happened. It's just a story about their relationship. I really missed more of the paranormal side of things because that's what I found to be really interesting in the first 3 books of the series. So I ended the month on a bit of a low note, and I gave Sinner 2.5 stars out of 5 stars. So that's everything that I read in the month of December. I will be posting more in-depth reviews on my blog as always. If you'd like to see more in-depth thoughts in a video review format, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, be sure to like, comment, or subscribe for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye! So I gave, which is, is it of or from? Why can't I do this? Look, it's almost 600 pages. Oh, that's not true. The first half of the book is also, I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Thanks for watching. Bye!